I'm thinking about how we have the analogies that we can get out of nature, right? That's all we have. We have analogies of nature that we can use to explain spiritual experiences that are altogether beyond just the physical. It's not tied to the physical, even though it can work with it. You can see evidence of it as it comes through form, as it comes through art, as it comes through certain, endeavors like giving and a life of higher purpose and greater meaning, deeper experiences of knowing. But as it works with form, you got to have one foot in this world and another foot, so to speak, in that other place, which is, again, just another analogy. It's not like you really got to have both feet here. I mean, both feet definitely have to be here. Your mind has to be here. Your brain has to be here. Even your soul is kind of tethered to the world. But you also have this other tether. And talking about it has always been tricky. People who have a very deep spiritual practice coming into contact with that other place, which is no place. That's been a way of describing it as well. It's the no thing. It's nothing. It's no thing that you can point at or define. But coming into contact with it, you realize, okay, this is defying explanation. It's not conditioned by my life, while at the same time, it's the most familiar thing to me. It's the most familiar thing I've ever experienced. It's more familiar than any memory I have of just living in this life with this particular form, in this particular culture. You start having experiences that are more real. They feel more real than all of that. This is something that people that have had near-death experiences, that's something so many of them report. When they go to the other side, they say it feels more real than this world, infinitely more real. Then when they come back here, it feels like they're back up to their eyeballs in mud. It's just kind of, it's murky here, but they still carry this thing within them. But what some of them might not understand, even if they've had that experience, there are practices there, and some of them might start meditating after things like this, after having an experience like that, because they want to get back to it. They want to bring it into this life. So what you do with your spiritual practice is you're building a bridge. It's always about bridge building. It's always about preparation. You do have to have both feet on the ground. Both feet need to be here. Your mind needs to be here. Your body needs to be here. But it needs to be very competent. There needs to be a lot of responsibility. You need to be very capable. But if you have a spiritual practice, then things will be given to you from this greater awareness, this greater mind, which is, it doesn't think like your worldly mind. It's just so different. But there's all these contradictions and paradoxes and analogies that we have to work with, being in separation, being in form. When we're experiencing the formless and timeless part of ourselves, there's like a paradox there, because it feels more familiar than anything we've ever experienced. It feels more real than anything we've ever experienced, while at the same time it's fresh, as if we're experiencing it for the first time in this life anyway. It feels so fresh. It feels mysterious, even though it's incredibly familiar, as if you know it, as if it's something you know more than anything you could have ever known that's of the world. You know this way deeper. Way, way deeper. So it's infinitely familiar while also infinitely mysterious. And that part of you wants to inform the part of you that's informed. It wants to inform you. It wants to help guide you. But you have to become very competent in order to allow that to take place. And that's really what Steps to Knowledge is all about. Getting you into a position to be able to receive more, to be open to receive more, which then allows you to contribute more to the world. But in speaking about it and trying to relay what it is and what it's like and what it means, that's tricky. It's always tricky. We're in a very time-bound, form-bound reality where everything changes. Everything is changing. There's a lot of growth. There's so much. That's why when you meditate, you're getting used to being still, and you're trying to still the mind, because when we're here, the mind is relentlessly moving. Because everything is relentlessly moving. This planet is spinning very quickly. It is moving through space very quickly. Even the entire solar system is moving. The entire galaxy. It's not only just spinning, it's moving while it's spinning. And it's like the same thing with our planet. It's not just spinning. It's moving while it's spinning. As the entire solar system is also moving while it's spinning. So you have all these different levels of movement. And to actually be here, that's kind of like what defines a part of you. The fact that everything is changing, everything is moving, everything is bound by these physical laws. Time, form, space. But there's a part of you that's not bound by these things. It's as if it's nothing. It's as if it's nothing. Coming into contact with that, it's like it's so far beyond your imagination. It's not your imagination. You can't imagine things like this into existence. You can't conceive it into existence. It's deeply experiential. And it's not even concerning necessarily your worldly senses. It's a deeper sense. It's not like you smell it, right? You're not touching it. But you are touching it in the deepest part of you. There's a touch. And Steps to Knowledge and the new message are so powerful because it's always about coming back to that and understanding that this is the most important thing. This is the most important thing in your life. It's your true foundation. It's the one thing in you that doesn't change, that isn't being ravaged by the world. It's the part of you that was never traumatized by the world. It's never been abused by the world. It harbors no resentment toward the world. It doesn't have any guilt over being in the world. Anything that you have been dealing with in life, with your worldly mind, your worldly personality, this deeper part of you isn't tied to all that. It's not concerned with debating or arguing. It's a knowing that is so powerful because it's so freed up from all of that. And of course, experiencing that, one would come to find out that that really is the most important thing, because it begins to inform your actions. It begins to inform your thinking, how you actually think. And you start to become very refined in that process. And it is a long process. This doesn't happen in just a week or a year or a couple years. It's really learning to work with time, which is a very interesting thing about Steps to Knowledge. It's using time as a method to get you to the timeless. Experiencing your timeless being, your formless being. You can't just jump into it or, expect any lasting, profound rendezvous with it, with just like taking drugs. Like, yeah, that might be the most fleetish thing, but having an actual practice like Steps to Knowledge is about really using time as a method or a tool to get you to the timeless, because you're working with time. That's why there's 365 steps, right? The same thing with continuation training after Steps to Knowledge. There are certain elements of time built into that is focused on how we experience time. It's important. The maturation processes. How things move. Okay, throughout a year, certain cycles. It's very important, becoming very familiar with that. And the more you work with it and the more you focus on it, things start opening up, and you keep staying with it. You don't just give up. I understand why some people give up. Some people might stop halfway through the steps, or they might stop within the first week and be like, this is too hard. I understand. But sticking with it and knowing that it's always there to come back to. It's very important. I mean, it's really kind of beyond description. It's really beyond description. I can't tell you what it is so much. But it is important to, if you are taking Steps to Knowledge, to really be resonating with it. You're not just doing it because it's something you want to try, as if it's just another thing. As if it's like, oh yeah, I've tried tapping. I think tapping really works. I've done quantum healing. I think that's interesting. That's really worked for me. I've tried this, I've tried that. And all that stuff might be amazing. I've done a lot of that stuff. But taking Steps to Knowledge is not just another thing. It's not just another thing to have on your bookshelf. It's not just another interesting curiosity. This is very, very deep learning. It's a very deep education. It's a powerful curriculum that is truly divine in origin. The New Message says it's a teaching with 1,000 teachings. You're going to learn so much in it, and that's why it's a lifelong practice. It's a lifelong practice. You're always going to be uncovering things. There's so much there. So much there. And it's almost like the timeless part of yourself is inexhaustible in terms of its wisdom. You know how you've heard the saying, with age comes wisdom, right? That's true, generally speaking. With age comes wisdom. At least a little bit, if not a lot. If that's true, then how much wisdom and how much knowledge would the part of you that is timeless have? The part of you that is timeless, bornless, deathless, this ancient part of you, how much wisdom is being carried in that part of you? Just how much wisdom does that have? Probably quite a bit. Probably more than you can imagine. Getting in touch with that would obviously be one of the most, if not the most important thing you could do with your time in your life. Very much. So I kind of felt like talking about something that is most of the time very difficult to talk about. But I felt a little inspired now to try and talk about it, just because I had a few things I was thinking about. So thank you for watching.